Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Voice of the Valleys podcast, which is for the people, by the people of our Shenandoah Valley. My name is Charles, and I'm your host this morning. I would love to introduce my brother and friend, Mr. Alec Gunn, who is the Executive Director of the Warm Shelters in Waynesboro. Today, and I say today, we will be discussing topics of interest as to inform the people of what is available to help them with their needs. So, let's start the process. Welcome, Alex.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. It's good to see you today.
Good to see you too, brother.
Thank you. So we're going to start out right off the bat with some questions that are going to be a main interest. And the number one is, what does WARM stand for?
So, WARM stands for Waynesboro Area Refuge Ministry. And as I talk more today, it probably should be ministries. But that's what it stands for. WARM is a ministry, Christ-centered, and that's what we're attempting to do, is be a Christian community that seeks to help and support the homeless.
Mm-hmm. Good. I like that. So how long, because I know a lot of people don't even know it, how long has this been around?
So WARM, or Waynesboro Area Refuge Ministry, WARM, began in 2011. And I'll give you a little backstory on it. It started in Waynesboro, and so it happened due to some issues that they were having in the tent cities that they had in Waynesboro.
Really?
There was actually a homicide, and because due to that homicide, many of the pastors in the Waynesboro area got together and started talking, and out of those conversations, WARM was born.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's good. What does WARM do then?
Okay, so
and be specific.
Well, I'm going to break it down. So, like I told you before earlier, WARM is is ministries. There's 3 ministries inside of one ministry. So, WARM has the Roof House, and it's actually the Ruth Van Cleve Anderson House. And that house is a transitional house for homeless women who have children. And there are 7 rooms within inside the house. And when an individual, you have to apply to get in. But you apply and you get in. And it's where we begin to help these ladies learn how to do things that will make them and help them become independent upon themselves. With inside of there, we help them get into financial classes, teach them how to manage their finances. We do parent coaching classes where teach them how to work on becoming good parents, better parents. We also have classes where we teach them how to budget. We help them prepare and submit applications for housing and things of this such. So usually inside that time frame, they're probably inside the Roof House for about 6 months. And we have a really good transitional rate from individuals who go completely through the program, transitioning out into a home of their own. It's about 72% success rate. So
Good.
So that would be that's the first ministry that we have. The second one is the one that a lot of people know a lot about, and that's the cold weather shelter. So the cold weather shelter is only active during a certain time during the year. It's usually about from 18 to 20 weeks. We usually start in November, and it usually begins on the week of Thanksgiving. So the cold weather shelter is WARM working with the area churches to provide shelter for our unsheltered neighbors in the area. And what I mean by that is that the church provides us a space to bring our unsheltered neighbors in, to have a place to stay, have a place to get a meal. And with inside there, we also provide them with services. We provide them with the opportunity to seek out services. One of the services that we have, the mobile clinic, comes through and checks them and takes care of them and looks after them. We have Valley Community Service Board that comes in and works with them. We do some mental health assessments through Valley Community Service Board. So all these things are going on while they're in shelter. We have a pickup spot that we usually pick them up around 5:30. And so we have a pickup spot. We pick them up in our bus or our van, and we transport them to the church that we're at that week. And we are usually at that church for the whole week. So we usually begin on Monday. We set up on Monday, and we will break down on Monday. So we'll go from Monday to Monday at that church, and then we'll go to the next church. So that's how the cold weather shelter works. They come in, they get set up, they have a bed ready for them, they get a meal, they sleep there that night, and then the next morning they leave and head back out into the community. But we send them out with a bag lunch, or they get breakfast, and we send them out for bag lunch, make sure that they have a bag lunch for that day. And then we will see them again that evening. And that's the one thing about the cold weather shelter that a lot of people don't understand, is that our cold weather shelter is only for the evening hours, that we only are able to shelter these men and women in the evening hours. So that's how the cold weather shelter works.
So, it's out of curiosity, what churches are involved?
Oh, there's a number of churches. So we have churches in Waynesboro, Stanton, and Augusta County.
Okay.
And they're of all different denominations.
Okay.
We have Catholic churches, we have Presbyterian, we have Baptist churches, Lutheran churches, Brethren churches. That's one of the greatest things about this ministry, and that's what keeps this ministry going, is the church community coming together. And when I say church community, I'm talking about all the denominations coming together and working to help provide this service, to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and to help with providing this shelter for these individuals. That is basically what Warm is attempting to do, is to be what Jesus taught about the Good Samaritan. We want to be that individual that provides the transportation, that be the individual that provides the food, be that individual that provides the shelter, be the individual that provides medical care if they need be, and also in some instances, even if they need fundage, in some type of way, we want to be able to help them financially as well.
Now, let me ask you a question, because I've always gone and trying to understand this, even to the point where I was going to try to start an organization, is when we have the homeless people, they want to get jobs, and in this area, it's not like a city. So you don't have railroads and buses and all that type of stuff. And you have a lot of homeless that want to work, that can work. And like you said, this is a transition. But they don't have transportation to get back and forth from these jobs. So what are we doing towards that goal? Is there a goal to try to assist that?
So that kind of is out of my purview a little bit, but we at Warm, if they are in our shelter that night and they need to get somewhere that morning, we do our best to put them in a position like at the closest Bright bus stop area, so they can get on a bus and get to where they've got to go. If they have a medical appointment, we provide them with a ride to that medical appointment. If they are in recovery and they've got to go to a recovery appointment, we're going to make sure that they get to those appointments. So we do provide that, but that's a very small token, because we're not that big of an organization to be able to serve people as much as possible in that. Transportation is one of the huge factors with dealing with being unsheltered. That's the reason so many unsheltered neighbors have to remain in this area working, because they can't have transportation out to the county to get a job or to places like that. So,
yeah. And that was a major problem with the in the Stanton area. You have people want to work, but you got Little Debbie's and Hollister and Hershey, and trying to get out there, apply gym and get back, it's almost obsolete.
Oh yeah, it's very,
and then that makes them just be more frustrated.
It's frustrating.
I want to change my life, but I can't even get there. And unfortunately, it's not so much their fault all the time.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes just the area's fault of not, having that.
It's an obstacle.
Right. And then what people do, in my opinion, then they go back to, well, I can't even get to work. They use that as a what? An excuse.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
So let's get back to business at hand.
So there's one more ministry
Oh, yeah, sure. Please.
Yeah, there is.
Come on.
So we have one more ministry that we have within inside of Warm, and that's the outreach ministry. And a lot of people ask, after the cold weather shelter, what do we do? Well, that's what we do. We do outreach. In the spring and summer months, we spend time going out to encampments where unsheltered neighbors are living and staying, and we take water out there, we take food out there, we take toiletries out there, we take clothing if they need clothing, we bring medicine and things they need out there, Tylenol, Pepto-Bismol, and that's I always tell people it's one of the interesting things I didn't even consider when I first started doing this is that they get sick too. So they get tummy aches, they get headaches, and so we make sure they have those things out there. And if they have an appointment that they need to get to, we work during the summer to try to get them to those appointments and things like that as well. Transportation wise. So that's what we do as far as the outreach ministry. So those are the three ministries that we have with Inside Warm: is the roof house, the cold weather shelter, and outreach.
Good. Because I didn't know that. I know majority of our communities don't know that. Right. But now let me ask you a question, because I've been knowing you for a long time, and we've been blessed to still be able to have a conversation about our Father, and about life, and about just as brother to brother. It's like real brother. We are brothers in the body of Christ. Amen. But let me ask you a question. Because you used to be at Fishburne Military, am I correct?
That's it.
So, and you just started here in July or June, am I correct?
Actually, yes, June 22nd. Yeah, June 22nd.
Okay. So how did God, how did God lead you to here? Oh, wow. I want to hear about you.
That's a very interesting story. I was commandant at Fishburne Military School, and I did that for 6 years. And in the last few years that I was there, I was drawn. I kept asking God, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?"
Good.
And I bugged him. I bugged him. I like that. And I kept asking what he wanted me to do. And so the first thing was he said counseling, and I was like, counseling, really, because I didn't think that I even qualified as something like that. So this is how the Lord will work. So he said counseling. I said, okay, all right, I'll play your game. Okay. So I said, well, where am I going to do that? And so he showed me a school. He showed me Liberty. He said, Liberty has online classes. You can get counseling. So I said, okay, all right. Well, I said, we'll see if I can get in. Mm-hmm. And so this was on a Thursday. I want I purposed this. This was a Thursday. It was my birthday. Mm-hmm. And so I called Liberty up, did all the paperwork, applied on application online. On the phone. And Saturday morning, I get a phone call. Did you accept it?
Oh, my man.
So I went back to school and got my master's degree in pastoral counseling and chaplaincy. And, the counseling, I have been using that quite a bit. I ended up starting my own counseling practice, biblical counseling practice in 2023. And I have been doing outreach and chaplaincy through Warm and through my church. So the Lord always has a plan.
Yes.
And it's just sometimes it takes us being obedient and patient.
His time is not our time.
Absolutely not.
And that's where we in my opinion, through my own experiences, that's where us human beings, we want it right now.
Right.
And then when we want it right now, then when we lose it, then we ask him why? Because you didn't give me time to go ahead and get you to the steps.
Absolutely.
So getting back to your ministry, how did you find this project?
Okay, so I had known about Warm for a number of years, and around the pandemic time, I had really considered being a part of Warm. At the time, I was just doing some counseling, and I was considering doing it, but I do believe at the time the Lord was like, "You're not ready yet. You're not ready." Mm-hmm. And so what happened here in 2024 through my pastor at New Valley, Brian Edwards, who's actually our chairman of the board for Warm. I knew Brian from some time that I worked as a teacher in Waynesboro public school system. And so I came in, we were talking, and it was just, things just clicked. Mm-hmm. Things clicked, mm-hmm. And we sat down and we talked some more about me coming on as the executive director, and I felt that it was, it was prayer answered. That's what God had been calling me to do, and so here I am.
There you are. So, my brother Alec, practicing that now. What are some of the significant challenges that you are facing today with these projects?
So, working with unsheltered it's rewarding because you get to see individuals, or you get to help them and work with them pull themselves up out of the pit. Mm-hmm. But the difficulty that dealing with unsheltered right now is just housing. Mm-hmm. Housing's a huge issue, as well as, we talked about it earlier, the economy is so difficult right now that it's very, very hard for an individual to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the cold weather shelter season this year, in Waynesboro alone, it was 51.1% of the individuals in Waynesboro were ALICE. And ALICE stands for Access Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And what this means is these are individuals who have jobs, mm-hmm. but what they're getting paid puts them in a position where they're not below the poverty line, so they cannot get certain services and financial help. But it also puts them in a position where they're not making enough to maintain and keep and be in a comfortable situation where they're not worried about food and medication and housing. Your ALICE population are individuals who are on the edge of just all it would take is a week off, being sick, mm-hmm. and they would be home to be unsheltered. Mm-hmm. They'd be unsheltered. Mm-hmm. And that's difficult. We see that. Of course, we have women and children at the house here, Roof House, but that's difficult when you're looking at children who are involved in school and things like that, and they're either living out of a car, mm-hmm. or they're living out of a hotel, mm-hmm. or some even incidents where they're living out of a tent. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the challenges that we're experiencing is just the housing situation, because rent is so expensive here, mm-hmm. And the economy where individuals, the jobs that they have here are just not paying enough, mm-hmm. for them to be able to survive.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a question that makes me wonder, because we both got animals, and mm-hmm. And I wonder about this here, because one thing about animals, they love you unconditionally. And it's very difficult when you're sheltered, when you're homeless or whatever, to go and maybe leave or whatever. What's the challenge there for that? What's the obstacle, and how do we get past that, or do you get past that?
Well, that's a two-pronged approach. There are places in America that have shelters that will actually also shelter the unsheltered animal. Mm-hmm. We don't have this here.
Okay.
I do know of some individuals who are trying to make that a reality in this area.
Oh, good.
But as of right now, that is not something that we have here. I do run across quite a few unsheltered neighbors who make the determination that they will stay with their animal rather than come to shelter. Yeah. And I get that.
Oh, yes.
I get that.
Oh, yes.
I get that.
Oh, yes. I get that. I don't really say it like that, but
yeah.
They don't judge you.
Right. That's right.
No judgment,
That's
no
right.
harshness, no abuse, none of that.
That's right. So that's one of the things that I am working with some people to try to get a kennel or something like that.
I'm glad to hear that. That's important, especially in our society today. We're so divided in so many different areas. Our closest companions is our animals.
Right.
Today. So let me ask you another question. What resources and tools were most beneficial to you in what you are accomplishing now?
Okay. So I will say right now, the biggest thing for us at Warm were donations. Mm-hmm. The crew didn't get the people on the podcast didn't get to see it, but we just had an individual come in and bring some tents. Mm-hmm. And so our community, we have an awesome community, and they stand up for each other. And so that's the greatest support that I've seen here, service-wise, is that, people brought food, people brought blankets when we needed blankets, people brought tents when we needed tents, when we needed medical supplies, people brought us medical supplies, because that's the only way that this ministry can continue is through donations. Mm-hmm. When we started the cold weather shelter this year, we were in a $7,000 deficit. We needed $7,000 to be able to run the cold weather shelter smoothly and to maintain the other ministries that we were doing as well. The community came out. They showed up. We met that $7,000 need, and so that's what I have seen is that just the love for each other, and that's the support that I've noticed that was just the greatest for us is that the community came out and helped that.
This is a question I want to ask you. I'm listening to you, but how do people actually connect? Is there a telephone number? Is there, some way besides, what I mean? A lot of people hopefully may see the podcast, but how they can really reach out, in the state,
Right.
Because some people are like that, and they don't. This was so great. I didn't even know the Warm was available until I was walking down there, walking my dog, and a gentleman said to me, Charles, you know about the Warm? You ought to get that on your podcast. I said, the Warm? What is the? And then I found. I said, a young lady said, well, Al, do you know Alec Gunn? I says, that's my brother. And they said, well, he's just. I said, are you serious? So and word of mouth gets out, but like I'm trying to say word of mouth in reference with how would these people actually contact?
So
that seems like that's a difficult challenge.
For someone who is experiencing homelessness, who's unsheltered, their way of connecting is through the Valley Homeless Connection. And because we utilize what is called coordinated entry. Now, why do we use coordinated entry? Because there is such thing as a high barrier and low barrier shelter. We are a low barrier shelter. And what does low barrier shelter mean? For lack of just not trying to just get into a whole huge definition about it, is it means that we extend much grace. We extend much grace. So, you can come in if you are struggling with dependency issue, you can come in, under the influence. We will not allow individuals to bring or utilize their habits inside the shelter, but you can come in under the influence, and we're not going to judge. We're going to allow you in. So going back to the coordinated entry, there are two shelters in our area. There's us, Warm, and then there's also the Valley Mission. The Valley Mission and us have beds. Valley Mission is a high barrier, and they're high barrier because they have children.
The Valley Mission, that's located in where?
In Stanton.
In Stanton. Okay, that's on the west side of Beverly Street.
Right, roger that. That's correct. So coordinated entry, individual calls in, says, hey, I'm unsheltered. I'm looking for a place to stay. They're going to answer a few questions. Then they'll be put into the system. They're applying. They're submitting their name into the system, and they will determine if they are a fit for the Valley Mission or they're a fit for us. And what this does is this makes sure that individuals who should be getting a bed at the Valley Mission get a bed at the Valley Mission, and the people who should be getting a bed at Warm get a bed at Warm. So it makes sure that no one who is looking for a space to stay doesn't get a space to stay.
Good.
So that Valley Homeless Connection is the avenue for any person who is unsheltered and is looking for a place to stay. They want to do that. If someone is looking to, like you said, donate or to volunteer with us, go to warmwaynesboro.org. Go to warmwaynesboro.org. That's going to have all the information on there you need. Mm-hmm. There's even a volunteer application sheet on there that you can fill out. It'll tell you what donations we're even looking for. Good. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page that you can go to, and it'll even tell us, because we'll have certain things that we're looking for at that time of year. Like recently, we just put out that we need tents because we're about to start, the outreach season. So spring and summer. So we're asking for tents. We'll be asking for other things here shortly, toiletries and stuff like that. But that's how you connect. That's how you
And
connect.
they bring those items to where? Here?
They bring it right over here, 135 Fairfax Avenue.
1035?
1035 Fairfax Avenue.
Okay. What would you like to see? We're going to wrap this up here because I'm going to tell you this has been so informative. It has definitely took me to another level of wanting to participate even further in helping our homeless candidates in every avenue of the word homeless.
Yes.
What would you like to see the change that would make this a better people saver? I know that sounds a little corny.
No, that doesn't sound corny. It doesn't sound
People
corny
say-
enough. I would like for the community just to be more educated on it.
Right.
The stigma that still lies out there about people who are homeless, it needs to be educated and adjusted. There are many individuals who still think that individuals that are homeless, they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they don't want to work, they're lazy. I will tell you that about 45% of the individuals that I work with have jobs. Some of them have two. There's about 65% of them to 75% of them that don't have any substance abuse issues. Mm-hmm. They're not drinking. They have just fallen on hard times. They are on their Jericho road and they've fallen on hard times. And so we have to make the determinant, are we going to be the priest or the Levite, or are we going to be the Samaritan? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see, and we're working on that right now. I'm working with a group that is working on getting the education out there to the community so they understand more of what it means to be Alice, what it means to make a decision on, I'm going to pay for medication today, am I going to, pay my rent? Things like that. That's what these are decisions that these individuals are struggling with and dealing with, and that's what leads to the homelessness. Individuals could make their rent because they're trying to do these other things, and then they get evicted.
So this has been an opportunity and such a blessing to the community, but for me, because I've come in contact with so many people, and you don't know what a person's going through unless you're walking in their moccasins. And a lot of people have a lot of issues where they don't want to let you know. Mm-hmm. But if you have the power to be able to sense that, and they feel good that they can trust you, then they will open up to you.
Yes.
So this has been a blessing that I've learned where I can show them what they can do to get the help that they need. So in the future, we're going to get back together. Okay. This has been an honor.
It's been an honor for me too.
And a pleasure to be in your presence and for you to be on my podcast, The Voice of the Valley. So I say to you now, what is it that you want to say before I let you go?
All I just ask is this, any individual that hears this or is thinking about donating, please do. Warm needs your blessings, and that can come in the form, like I said, it can come in the form of food, it can come in the form of clothing, it can come in the form of tents. I mean, a lot of times, people think you're asking for money. We're not always asking for money. Does money help? Yes, money does help. But any way that you can donate and help to continue this ministry going, we please ask you, please to just, to just do that.
Good. I'm on board.
I know you are.
Well, we're going to wrap this up, my beautiful people. And I just want to thank, first and foremost, I want to thank my brother Alex, but then I also want to thank my little younger brother, Nikita. Mm-hmm. What a blessing he has been with us with the podcast. I just want to give that acknowledgement. We have to do that.
Yes.
If we sincerely care about our families. So, let's get up. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Have a great day. See you soon.